Welcome everyone to this special video podcast episode of Bran'sTech. We're glad to have you here. So in today's episode, we are highlighting one of the many guests who have come here on the podcast and spoken with us. We're highlighting their story and catching up with them and truly seeing how they've been doing. But without further ado, this episode will begin in just one moment after these sponsored messages, so please stay tuned. Have you ever thought about hosting your own podcast? Perhaps you already have one. Well, if you're looking for a podcast website, look no further than Podpage. A website design tool helped to create a better experience for your listeners. And in fact, my favorite part is that it allows for each guest to have their own dedicated landing page. That way, you can highlight each of your guests and their amazing accomplishments. I'm proud to have Podpage as the sponsor for the Bran'sTech Catch-Up series. If you're interested in going to Podpage, go ahead and go to podcast.bkhtech.net/podpage. Without further ado, let's get into today's episode. Hello everyone, this is Brandon and welcome back to Bran'sTech. I'm excited to speak with each of you. So for today's catch-up interview, I'm excited to have with me today's guest, but let me go ahead and give me a chance to go ahead and reintroduce him. He is a university student and he actually changed majors, but I'll let him say that when he gets on. He's also interested in building online communities, and this is actually not the first time I asked him to come on here for a video podcast. Please welcome back Justin Lancaster. Thank you so much for being here today.
Happy to be back. It's been a while. I actually don't look recognizable, not that any of y'all would know that.
Well, I'm glad to have you back, and yes, it is quite interesting because obviously, for many of my interviews, I do see my guest, visually, but it's like you all watching or listening don't, so it's sort of weird. It's just like, we're back, but it's a little different this time.
Yeah, I wonder how many people were surprised to actually know what you look like in the first video one.
That is actually really interesting, and I don't know. It's like, my YouTube channel has been around, it exists, but yeah, I really don't know. But how have you been doing though?
I've been doing pretty good. Like you said, I did change my major. I'm switching from visualization to communications, like you actually, but it's a pretty big shift, but I think it's good for me.
Well, that is good at least, and once again, welcome to the land of being a communication major.
Oh, yes.
That's exciting.
I've come to the light to join you.
Yeah, I'm just really glad. And so with your communication major, what do you really want to focus on going forward? Or do you know what general direction you want to go in? Because it's such a really broad field all over.
True, yeah. I'm trying to get into freelance writing, especially in terms of marketing and writing marketing blurbs for like setting up websites and such. I don't actually know the terminology for that, but I know I have a guy who's into that, and it looks like a fitting field for me, I think, especially with the nature of the types of online communities I'm into. People watching, feel free to check out that episode we did like a year and a half ago. Just a little bit of a I don't even know the word for that. Whatever. Y'all get it.
Well, what's actually interesting, I'm not sure if I told you this, but even to this day, I actually still get people who contact me saying that they listened to our initial interview that released I don't remember the exact date offhand, but I do know it was spring 2021 when that released. But I still have so many people contacting me, and so many people are also saying, hey, you should get back with Justin and have a second interview and do it, now that we've been through or technically still going through the COVID-19 pandemic, let us know. But as you were telling me then, it truly, it withstands the test of time, really.
Yeah, it was a mixture of just being in my opinion, I think I really like that topic. It was a mixture of just being a very timely context, because we were talking about online communities, which in general of this era is relevant, but it was right after the end of lockdown when we filmed it. And I think the context for that really added to it.
Yeah, I absolutely agree. And yeah, I mean, it's just so interesting. I mean, yeah, I mean, seeing how everything has changed, but I mean, even when I was going back and re-listening to the interview, I think it was at the beginning of 2022, January, maybe it was December 2021. I remember listening to it. It's like, this all still does, I mean, withstand the present day. And if anything, I think it's even more relevant now because so many people are now tuning into online communities and trying to meet people online, interact with them, or stay in touch with existing people. I mean, a lot more than they had in the past. More so because you sort of almost have to. Yeah, I mean, in present day, or at least a few months ago.
Yeah, I think our predictions from that episode really have been coming true in a way. Like all of these different online communities have only continued to grow and become larger, I'd say. Like Discord, what I was using for the platform, I know a lot of people have gotten into that recently. Like last semester, one of my classes in university actually like had an official class Discord where we would use to communicate to each other, like run by the TAs, which is pretty crazy.
Wow, that really is something. And I mean, and I'm sure. What was you all's reaction? What was your reaction to that? Was that something you expected, or did that seem out of the ordinary even for you?
Well, like it's not strange for them to have like a group chat or something to just like online materials and links and stuff like that. But um, with that different platform for it, it actually became like a community where students could talk to each other and exchange notes and like establish meeting times to study and whatever. And I think that's really good because that's something that can fit in both like in the modern era, both the people who are actually going to class and the people who are like going online. And I think it was really beneficial. But that's just my opinion on it. I know some people who just never paid attention to it, or just like, oh, we have one like 6 months in. I'm like, you're in it, man.
I mean, that is actually a really interesting thing. And for me as a fully online student, I mean, all of my classes have. I mean, well, a lot of my classes have group chats, and I mean, it's almost like I don't know. It's like I think it sort of changes the dynamics of what you think of a classroom. At least for me, as an online student who doesn't have the face-to-face interactions with people, and I mean, on a traditional basis anyway. And so it's almost like this is what we sort of experience as the class, and so it's interesting to see other people's perspectives in it. But at the same time, though, a lot of times I get so many messages in it, I tend to just mute them at the very beginning of the semester, and like and through my scrolling, like it'll be like, oh, it's like maybe the class is chatting about this or chatting about that, but admittedly, I don't know, maybe I'm not much of a group chat person, I guess, but
Hmm.
I don't know. I think it all depends on the context too. Like obviously, if it's group chat for my job, I'm obviously gonna look at it, respond to it because, well, it's my job. But I mean, I think context is everything too.
Yeah. It's definitely never go like that's another thing about that. Like each different type has its own sort of identity. Like a work group chat is never going to be the same as one where it's just your friends hanging out and doing whatever you're into.
Yeah, that is quite true. And actually, I mean, even like with thinking about it, I mean, it's like even different friend groups itself have their own different sex and interest and everything. And so, like, if you're in a group chat of, like you're mentioning in the podcast, yours, well, your Discord server is about world building stuff. And so, if you all start talking about a completely different topic, like about technology, I mean, not everyone's going to be really interested in that or feel like involved with it, as
Mhm.
opposed to like a dedicated one just for that.
Yeah. Um, I can definitely see that. But it's interesting how long-running communities, in that way, as new people join and old people leave, um, they tend to morph, and the subject for it will like slowly change, and that's really interesting to see. Like, for example, especially since this is a catch-up episode, that world building group chat that I told you all about has actually evolved somewhat, and it's become more of a directly a writing community now, which is pretty crazy. All the members have like gotten into writing their own novels or discussing that sort of thing, and it's been an interesting change over time. Yeah.
That is really interesting. Well, I guess congrats to you all on on getting started on your goals and writing those novels. And I mean, I wish you all the best. And when you write yours, definitely shoot me an email, send me a copy of where I can go purchase it. And whether it's now, 10 years from now, 20 years. I always try to do my best to support. All of my friends and podcast guests alike, and so. By all means, please keep me posted on all of that. I'd love
Oh,
to
sure. I'll
hear
be sure to link
all
you to the
about it.
most expensive copy that we got.
Well, I think that's what we've all come to expect now. But but going into the topic of I guess links and everything, and and staying in touch is. Well, I mentioned in our introduction too. This is not actually the first time we even, agreed to do a video interview.
All right.
Before.
Yeah, I believe the second one I did, we recorded it and then did the whole video review spiel, and then we turned out that we only recorded the audio or something.
So okay, so I guess. It's a refresher story for you and a new story for those listening. So back in summer 2021, I had decided I was going to do some video interviews for YouTube, I guess similar to what I'm doing now. And so I wanted to test it out with some people. So I had like 3 or 4 people or whatever that I reached out to, 2 people. I had gotten on the thing with 2 different people at different points in time. I believe you were the first one, actually. And so we had gotten all the stuff out of the way. We had both very busy schedules, so we finally made time out of our schedule. We did all the hard work, all the preparation. We finally got on the podcast recording. We had gone over everything, and then when we went to record, we didn't have anything to talk about because we had just talked about everything already in our initial interview. So I remember we were just sitting around and we didn't have anything to talk about. And so eventually I remember you had actually asked me if there was anything else that I needed recorded. And I just so happened to be looking for someone to do an episode of my Bran'sTech discussion series with me. And so that's how you end up guest co-hosting one of those audio episodes back, last year, which I think it either released at the end of July 2021 or early August, but actually I think it was mid-August. But regardless, that's I guess an interesting behind the scenes story of how that came to be.
That's right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's been a while since that happened. That was the esports episode, right?
That is correct. Yes. And and even with that one, I still get so many people who comment to me about that, and they're like, "Oh my gosh, this was really helpful. Like, I really liked the discussion. Justin did amazing, and all this other stuff." And so, and like I said, I honestly, of course, really enjoyed the interview. The discussion as well, and timing just worked out so perfect for that. Who knew that? Only thing I had to do was for us to try to do a video project just for it to not work out. So I'm glad that 1 year, almost a whole year later, that we were able to do this video project and then also do that discussions episode last year. So sort of getting the best of both worlds in a sense.
Yeah.
And so I would say, so out of first of all, for you guest hosting that one episode, which even though we knew we were going to do recording that day, I know that wasn't necessarily the one you had expected to do, but how was it being a part of the discussion series for that episode and being a part of a series that ran a whole 50 episodes before it officially concluded in January of 2022?
It was definitely a surprise. Like for the record, me and Brandon are old friends who met actually through a group chat, similar to the start of this discussion. But yeah, you just called me up one day and you were like, "Hey, can you help me film a video interview?" I'm like, "Sure." And then while we're doing it, you're like, "Hey, you want to help co-host this episode?" Sure. What's it about? Esports. Well, I mean, I guess I used to watch that. Let's start talking. And yeah, it was just one of those things where it's surprising. It's a big coincidence. Things add up, and suddenly you find you're halfway through something random, and both of you are like, "Well, cool. Let's keep going with this." Yeah, it was fun. It was definitely a novel experience for me, and I think I really enjoyed it.
Well, I'm glad that you did. And I mean, like I said, I'm just so glad. I mean, it turned out really well. And yeah, I mean, you are like for sure, like so knowledgeable within the subject. And I mean, I'm just glad it turned out the way it did. I mean, to be completely honest, and I mean, I couldn't have expected a better outcome.
Yeah, I don't really know what to say. Couldn't agree more. It was a good experience for me.
Well, I'm glad to hear it. And so, aside from all the podcast stuff, how has this whole past year for you, been for you? In fact, I mean, you've completed your first full year, doing university and everything. I mean, how was that experience? Have you been able to do anything, I guess, new and exciting over these past, well, I guess 11 months, but close enough to a year?
Yeah, yeah, it was definitely a big change for me. That was the first time I lived on my own. That was starting over in not a new town because I grew up in the town I'm going to university in, but it might as well have been since it was a full new set of people, I suppose. Um, I'm sure that's how it is for most people with such a big change in their life. And when I actually going to university classes, that was interesting too. It's very different from standardized education, I'll tell you that. Well, as I mentioned before, I did change major. I went into a full year of visualization, and I'm like, oh, this isn't what I thought I had signed up for. It wasn't what I was looking to do, and that was when there was a slow transition of that close-knit online community that I mentioned into more of a writing community. And I'm like, well, I've done all of this world building stuff, and um, I'm kind of interested in seeing where I can go with this. So I was working on writing my own novel, and in my one of my friend groups in college, I became the guy who people went to when they needed help proofreading essays, and stuff like that. And I'm like, you know what? I actually kind of like this. So, yeah, in the end, I decided to switch up and go into communications, just putting words on paper for whatever topic. I think that's something I can do, and I think I enjoy it more than where visualization was taking me. But it still has the same creative expression that I was wanting from it, I guess I could say.
Well, I'm glad that all of that at least was working out for you, and I mean, it's so interesting that, I mean, and you saying that your online communities helped, I mean, bring about that shift, and so I mean, that's almost like the perfect way to almost bring all of this full circle, and now you're once again back here speaking with me, and so I don't know, maybe your online community will shift again, and we'll be speaking this time next year.
You know, you never know.
But I mean, I'm just like I said, I'm just so glad that that it truly sounds like you're enjoying what you're doing, and yeah, I mean, and that you're having fun with it.
Yeah, honestly, I've had some tough times the past couple years, as I think everyone has. Like, just, I don't know, I guess this is what it is to be young. You have to deal with a lot of random stuff on top of everything going on with the world, most notably COVID. And yeah, I think I'm doing better now. And like I said before, and um, I've always been a big believer that the best way to go through life, to deal with the struggles of it, and to help strengthen yourself is relationships. And that's where my friends, my family, and the online communities I'm a part of, I guess the communities I'm a part of in general, more accurately, I think that's where they come in. Like, this is a little bit of a personal secret, but I can actually thank Brandon somewhat for that. We've had some, he's a good friend of mine, and we've had some good conversations on deep things.
Well, I'm glad I could help. I mean, I truly, honestly am. I mean, yeah. Well, like I said, I'm just really glad that I was able to help out and everything. I mean, like I said, one of the reasons I do my content is to help others, and I truly do mean that. And I always like, being able to stay connected and help out any way I can. And so I'm just really glad that was able to, to help you out, and that you were able to, to have that strong community around you. And of course, as I'm hoping that, my listeners here is that I'd like to think that even, all this, content I do, that this is one big community as well. And so you're always welcome here in my nice content community.
Yeah, who knows? Next thing you know, you might have your own like little online forums full of a bunch of little brandlings talking around about what have yous. I don't really know what to say because you do such a diverse variety of topics in this show.
Yeah, that's quite true. I mean, when I started in 2016 with doing content, I was just doing tech reviews, how to's, and this is the Samsung Galaxy Note 9. Let's go make a review about it. But I've gone from that to having these personal conversations and doing these podcasts, and now catching up with people. Who really knows where this will take me next? But I'd say that out of my whole 6 years now of doing that this is my favorite thing to do. Out of all the 6 years, being able to speak with people, it's just, to me, it's just the absolute joy, and being able to do this to help share these stories with others, I think, is just something that I think really has, like, I don't even know how to word it. There's really nothing like this.
I think, yeah, that you brought up a good point, like going back into all the different things you've done, and I think it's really interesting to like compare the type of content you're producing here with like how long I've known you and how you've changed over time. Like maybe like 10 years from now, if you're still continuing like producing content, you can just look back on now and see how you've like grown and changed as a person based on what kind of things you're posting in this show, for example, or whatever show you're working on by then.
That is quite true. And I only have until 2026, May 1st, when, that would be 10 full years of content. And
Wow.
so who knows what I'd be doing now, and it's coming so close too. And I mean, it's going to be here before you know it.
Yeah, time flies. I mean, yeah, I just can't get over how crazy that is. Yeah, 6 years isn't a lot, but 10 years, that'll be like the real anniversary for you, right?
Yeah, it would be, and it's just shocking, I guess, to me that it's just so close. And I mean, I would be done with, I mean, with so much stuff like, like college and this and that. And I mean, by then, and to think it's just like, I don't even know where I'm going to be 2026. I don't know what I'm going to be doing after 2024. So, I mean, or, because, given that even like with the pandemic, it didn't start in a day, but, it changed, I guess, the way that we interact within a few hours. I
Hmm.
mean, just imagine 4 years down the line. I mean, what type of changes and everything's going to happen over that time? It's just you never really know.
Yeah, spoiler for the fans. The 15th anniversary of this show will be the wedding episode. I apologize for the advance notice.
Well, that is certainly a surprise for me, and so I mean, I guess we'll just have to tune in to see how that goes. But overall, Justin, this has just been so great being able to speak with you, catch up, and have a little bit of fun in this. And I mean, that that's one of the reasons I decided to do these catch up interviews and just go back and and just chat with some of my former guests again and just see how they're going and just have fun with it. And I mean, and I think that's just one of the great things about catching up. I consider everyone here friends, and so I mean, being able to just chat with old friends is just, I mean, nothing could really get better than this, really.
Yeah, I honestly think this series is a really fun idea. Just it ties into your old content, but it's a unique mini series, like especially since the new update to your website where you link like by the um, person to like everything they've done with the bio and the headshot you asked me to give you. Um, I need to do that. Anyway,
Yeah, and I mean, and even like what you brought up with the new website. It's one of those things where I'm like when working with that, I was working so consciously just to make sure that it's able to, yeah, I mean, to both serve my audience and the guests as well. I mean, being able to do two for one, and I mean, and of course, to help me as well with the whole process. And so it took probably a whole year to do research into everything, but I
oh
mean, it
wow.
was just so well worth it when these last 3 months I just really focused in and just was able to get it done. And I mean, I think the future looks great from here. I mean, just with the way everything is right now, and I just can't wait to see what the future has to hold.
Yeah, I have to say the end product does look beautiful, so good work on that.
Thank you so much. Like I said, I just greatly appreciate it.
Yeah.
Well, if is there anything else that you would like to share, Justin, before we go ahead and close out this this catch up interview? And of course, this has been such a great time being able to speak with you thus far.
Hmm. Nah, let the wind blow. Let's go. I think that's yeah, I think I've covered about most of the um important details for the catch-up interview, and I think we've had some good discussions. I yeah, I'm glad to be back on the show. I'll say that.
Well, I'm so glad to have you back. And like I said, you are always welcome here. And I mean, well, I don't verbally say, but well, it's implied anyway, is that, I absolutely love to being able to share all this amazing content here with the community here online. And so, like I said, you're always welcome here and to my community. And thank you once again, Justin, so much for this great opportunity to be able to catch up with you. And yeah, and like I said before, please keep in touch.
Of course.
Oh yeah, well, until next time, everyone, this has been Brandon, and of course I'm joined here by Justin Lancaster, and I will see you all later. Have a wonderful day, everyone, and I'll see y'all next time.